this is the demo I was putting together that I was just describing with
Yeah,
basically the eight features that were in the post.
perfect.
So that's you just, one through
Yes,
eight, basically. And so I put a
exactly.
couple extra quotes in here because there was, just three different widgets that handled quotes. So I just tossed them in there. Got AI to give me some aphorisms. And yeah, I hadn't gotten to the quizzes yet, but I assume,
Gotcha.
that's going to actually be similar. This is right here. This is a Flickr embed just because one of those is really easy to do. You can just grab anybody's Flickr feed and embed it with the widget. But if we were going to go to something that's more third party, like the Facebook embeds, actually, Vera, I was going to ask if you had a customer whose Facebook embed we might be able to snag, and I could use that as part of the demo. Because that would, instead of using one of the social media embeds, you would just use the code embed for that. So I was going to
Oh,
cover.
so that's working now?
Well, we can try it. I assume that and maybe not Facebook, but one of the third parties, don't they have their own embeds? Because there's no Facebook embed in the blocks. There is a Twitter one. There's Blue Sky even.
So, but
Uh,
what about just custom HTML? Can you do
yeah,
that? Or
exactly. That would just be a normal embed. So actually, let me just go ahead and hit the article. We can even
yeah,
point out sometimes, depending on what the setting is, in the back end, it defaults to the block or defaults to classic and stuff like
yep,
that.
yep, that's important because they're gonna get lost right there if they don't know
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, because if you just click that edit article, you don't necessarily know depending on the setting. In that case, it actually had it drop down, but that's because I went and swapped the setting on the back end just for the staging.
Right.
And the other thing I was going to point out is the preview. Like, this is a lot closer
To what you're gonna get.
probably than
WYSIWYG.
what you would see.
Yeah.
It's not exact, but it's a lot closer. So you can get a much better idea of what your content is going to look like before. But obviously, it has the
Got the
super quick and
preview.
easy preview right
Exactly.
here as well. I mean, because it is technically, giving you these options if you even want to test out what it looks like. And you see how good it breaks. This one here, I hadn't got it
Right.
working mobile yet. So
Right.
that's the other thing. You can see how
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
affect in mobile and maybe change the settings so that this stacks better and stuff.
I think that's a really great point that we should make. The preview, it's like a built-in preview, like you're previewing rather than having to go to another page that,
Yeah.
been
You
around
have
for.
the option to go to another page if you want to get, because the difference is the style, the CSS themes that control the fonts and things like that. Those won't show up until you do the full new page preview, but you can still check out
Gotcha.
font weights and basically the overall style is pretty close to what you're going to see.
Right. I think even just catching those mobile things is valuable. So this quote thing, you are those graphics that were created in WordPress, that star
Oh,
background? Or how'd
no,
that
this is just evidently someone had uploaded a Nebula photo to
bet?
the site, and so I just used the cover wrapper to put it in the background once I saw the content of the aphorism. I was like, oh, that'd be interesting. And
Right.
you can even,
Right.
let's see, I have it set for, here, let me hide this focal point. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's in stylings. You can even set a height, so I can actually make it a little bigger because so you can do some stuff like that, or you can even
Okay. Yeah.
drag it in here,
Oh,
you
that's
know.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So
Yeah.
that's here, let me even bring this out. So that's the cover block is just wrapped around the quote, which contains a paragraph, that kind of thing. Oh, yeah, sorry, it wasn't a quote, it was a verse thing. I was just throwing that in there just because it kind of looked like the quotes. But yeah, so
Got
the full quote is the big one up here,
right.
which is pretty, just gives you the way.
That. Yeah.
And
I don't.
yeah.
Well, I mean, Vera, did you know about this text over the image thing? Like that just seems like such a useful
Oh,
newspaper.
actually, and it's also available if I come up here and just select an image. Whoops, sorry.
You
Select an image.
can do it right there.
Where is it?
Can,
Oh, I forget. Oh, is it not that one? I thought.
maybe you have to turn the image into a cover, or no?
No, that's just the way it scales inside.
Oh,
There was one where, no, advanced, that should just be the CSS stuff. Okay, I may be thinking about something that was available over on the OHT site.
Well, I remember there was a way that if you, it might not be in the type of templates you're using, but I know if you add an image, you have a way to control how the captions are displayed. Yeah, it's in one of those, and it like if you
Oh, here
had
it is.
my yeah.
Oh,
There
nice.
it is. So now, yeah, so that actually
That's
looks like
slightly
it turned
different.
it into a
Oh,
cover. That's what it did.
Oh, wow. So it
So it
just
takes the
automatic.
image, changes it into a cover, and assigns the image as the background image of that cover, and then inserts the paragraph block on top of it.
Right.
So
So
that's basically illustrating what I was doing with this one.
right.
Because actually this is an image and then the cover. So the cover is the wrapper, and I set the same image for the background of the cover as well as the foreground image. And then
Yeah.
I was able to just dim it and create this like wrapper. Well, it's a wrapper effect, yeah. And then the the caption kind of hides beneath it. So I thought that was kind of a cute little little thing. And then this was just, basically we got one of the new updates is the color picker has interface has changed. So you have all these cool gradients that you can use, and if you come into the picker, it's got like transparency as it,
Cool.
so it's not just going to white, it's actually going to transparent, which means you could use this as a gradient from one color to nothing, and it would match, if you were using it as an overlay or something like that. So being
Right.
able to create these transparent color gradients is actually really cool. And you can even add additional colors just by clicking, and you can just add a new color just like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just it's this was all possible in the classic editor, but you had to use code and a bunch of plugins, and you couldn't really
Exactly.
do it. Yeah, this makes it way more what you see is what you get. No code. Yeah, I think those are good.
And let's see, a couple of other things I noticed in the updates.
Let me just back up for a second, real quick.
Sure.
I'm just curious, Vera, did you know about all this image stuff?
Well, I know some of it. I don't know all of it. I would be a liar if I said I did.
No, it's
But
okay. I'm so
yeah, but
surprised
it's
by it.
really cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. I'm just curious if maybe, there's any customers like Signals or like the Florida. I feel like Florida would love this stuff. I don't know. I just think it would be interesting to think about customers that we know are more heavy into the styling. They have a lot of stylized pages
So
that,
I was doing Wilson County just before, and I saw a thing linked to this page.
right,
So this right here, this is a custom page with a form they put together,
right,
and something like this, this is actually looks pretty nice as it is. It's styled well and everything. Um,
right.
but you could imagine taking the block
Do
editor
more with
size
it.
of this, and you could like wrap the form in
Yeah, sure.
in
Wrap
a,
the
in a,
form.
in a yeah, in
Yes.
a cover to make it stand out a bit more, stuff like that. You could use it to do section-based stuff,
Right.
even if you wanted to do some background colors or gradients or anything like that. I
So
mean,
that's
this
an
is actually
interesting
really
idea.
nice, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like almost as a demo, we could like put together an example page for a customer like that.
Like
Uh,
the Savannah Tribune is two N's and an H. Okay. This was something I put together for them, and I didn't do it in the block editor because I didn't want to force them into using it. Is this it?
okay. Gotcha. Because you want them to be able to go back and edit it. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
so this is actually just using an unordered list, and I did all of the grid work in CSS,
Okay.
which
So you could
basically means they can just go into and edit this and just replace the image and update the link. But
right.
if you did this in the block editor,
Right. See, that's a
you
great
know, you could,
example. Yes.
yeah, that's kind of what I was going for with this. You can add links to these. Basically, you just add an image, and these are so if we just, because I've got a bunch of these restaurant ones in here, I think, because I did that gallery. Yeah, so
Right.
there's a couple more. This is Havana 33.
That
And
would work for SCUMA too because they have the directory of churches.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And then I can
Really
just
nice.
duplicate the heading. Oops. and this was Havana 33, like that. And then you just grab it and whoops, let's turn that into, what do we want to turn this into? I guess you go to group first is the best thing. So you can go group, row, stack. The thing about row is it doesn't change the size of the image. So what I was doing is actually changing, if I just make it 250 like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't need the caption. And then in here, yeah, this is where you can do like columns, this kind of thing. And a lot of times when you convert things, it'll like nest them further. So that's why you always want to have this list view open, because you can drag these out of the group
Okay.
into the column.
Right. That's good. Yeah.
And then you can actually come back to the columns, and it only has one because it defaulted to that. So when you bring this up to two, you can actually see it add the second column, and then you can drag the heading directly into that.
Right.
And then you have these are your vertical alignment controls. So
Right.
you select the columns as a whole, you see the outlines on the whole thing. We can make those centered.
So, okay, you could change
So yeah,
that.
that's basically,
Yeah. I think I'm following you now.
the other way of doing this even is just to duplicate. You can actually duplicate the nested whole group. So let's say you could actually just
Right.
duplicate the entire row just like that, and then come in here and do a replace on the image
Right, right.
from the media library or whatever, So
Right.
there's definitely a few different ways of creating these gallery type things.
Yeah, I think what you just did is it shows a lot of the flexibility, and maybe at that point, like, could you turn it from 2 columns into 3, like, and just do like show that kind of flexibility, or how does?
Well, with this design, it would actually, because I'm using one column for the photo and one column for the heading,
Right.
we would actually go up to 4, I believe. I'm curious how this
Right.
might work. Oh, actually, no, I haven't, that brings up a really cool thing. Okay, so I have the color in the rows. So what I could do is add the column block. First off, let's just add a 50-50 column block.
Right.
That puts it down here. And then what you could do is take the entire row itself
Drag it into that
and
column.
do a column. And then it's not going to fit, but
Right.
technically, you could, and then this would go in the other column. And now you would have the 4 columns. Let me get rid of some of this stuff.
It looks
So if I brought the sizing of this down, so you select the heading over here and you see how you have these typography things. So you can just hit medium on that real quick. And that'll basically resize it based upon the theme. And so technically, once you have one of these rows set up in a column, you could just duplicate this guy and then
okay.
duplicate that guy.
Right.
And then basically that'll give you the 4 column grid, and you'd go in and replace the photos and the
Yeah.
as needed.
Right, and I can just imagine if hopefully if we do get, a lot of attendees, they'll just be all over this and want to see like, oh, how do you do that? Like it'll be like a Kevin Slimp Adobe thing actually. So like if I wanted to, but like at this point, could you change that to 3 columns with like the words on top of the photo? Like is that a relatively smooth thing, or would you have to start over
Like
with it?
do you mean with the text overlaid?
Right. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah. Basically, what you would do is we'd need to convert each of these to a cover.
right.
So you convert it to the cover, and then you would drag the heading
Ooh, that's
inside the cover and get rid of the paragraph that it created.
nice. Okay.
And then you could also come up to the columns, because if you're going to do overlays, you
Right.
basically want the text to be white. So if you take the parent, you can actually come to the style and
Mm-hmm.
do like a group override, I think. Maybe not.
Yeah, that must be a way to
Oh,
do
it's
it.
overridden here. That's why. If this was set to clear, it'll just follow whatever the text color is set above it.
Gotcha.
Kind of
Okay.
like cascading style sheets. It's basically, that's
Right.
what it is. So if you set a color at a higher level, that color will trickle down unless it's overwritten.
Right.
And basically, right here, you can see where I did override the color, but if I just clear it, it'll come out to whatever's defined above it.
Right.
So if I clear all of these and then come back up to columns and come to the color again, it's set to white, but if you change it, it'll go to orange. You can see
Yeah.
it's still
It inherits it.
overwriting it there. Interesting.
Yeah, why isn't that? And that's weird.
Yeah.
Would have expected it to. No,
Oh, because it's a cover, I bet.
the other
No?
thing I was wondering about is like with those covers, is there anything where does it lighten up when you hover over it, you think, or no?
So yeah, if you come into
Or if there's any way to control that.
yeah, I was there. There's a group of blocks, a third-party block provider over
Oh,
on OHT.com that provides that. Let me
okay.
see if we
But
get,
maybe it's not part of the default on here. This is okay. I just like that. So you can control the opacity. It looks like that's cool.
yeah, but not a hover. There's
Oh, but
no,
look it. Go all
well,
the way.
that's me doing that, but
Oh, I know, but go all the way. See, it turned black. Why did it turn black?
oh, it automatically changes the font color based upon
Right.
this
Like,
slider. Yeah.
right. Interesting.
So yeah, that's what it was doing. Yeah, it changed it white because, and that reminds me, that's why I set the color on the other ones manually, because it was making these white because of the orange background, I think. But
Right.
yeah, so it actually, does that to maintain contrast.
Right. Sure.
I guess you would
That's
argue.
a nice safeguard for that.
Mm.
Now, can you turn the two column block you're on into like a three column from this point, or would you need to start with a new?
Once you've got a column, you can just add
You just add
right here.
columns.
You can
Okay.
add it.
Then you'd
And
have
all
to.
that does,
Okay.
yeah, that just creates one more column block in here that you can add stuff to or
Sure.
move stuff from one to the other. So
Cool.
you could
Okay.
move one row over there, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It just seems like something, well, a publisher might ask. So, what do you think, Vera? Is this all making sense? And
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I've used some of this.
nice.
I do it in a different way, less
Okay.
technical. I do it from the front end. I don't use the list view. So this is a new experience watching Christopher navigate through that. I just do it from the front end and just move things around that way. But I was
Right. So that
thinking
was,
new blocks.
yeah.
One of the things that we get asked a lot is for like a staff page under contact us. How cool would it be to have something like that where you actually have mugshots of your reporters or your staff?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean,
that
I'd
would
like
be
to.
easy to create.
This would
Yep,
be a good exercise for me, might be when we finally get our like bio page together to, work on a nice grid layout that shows who's all at our hometown, put
absolutely. Yep.
put faces to the names. That'll be really nice. Could do that
And
on the
one of the
side.
other things, I think you can do it here. No, where is it? If you change this back to a group, what does it do? Okay, so it leaves the columns in place. Okay. Yeah, so one of the things is when you convert between these wrappers, like I said, it kind of continues nesting things. So that's the other thing that's helpful with the list view is if you just want to pull everything out and just get it back into a group and out of all this column stuff, you
Right.
can do that just like this. Whoops.
Yeah.
And we can then get rid of the columns. And then this group can then itself be changed into how about instead of using columns, let me show you the grid one completely.
Okay.
So this is the grid, and you can say how many columns again here just with the dragger, and you see how it
Right.
it redoes everything.
Right.
It won't resize the content automatically like the columns will, but this is where you can do some magic numbering if you really need to. That's what I was doing with, if I select this, oh, well, that's right. That one's a cover now. But if you select like one of the images, I have it set to 250 pixels. If you delete that, it'll go to auto and that will have it resizing.
Okay.
The other thing I haven't actually even shown here yet is this aspect ratio thing. That's what the cover contain does. So if I change this to the
Hmm.
original, it's actually a landscape.
Right.
And so this is creating different things. And if you change this to contain, it'll do the aspect ratio of the container and then resize and scale it down versus cover, which
Hmm.
basically scales it up to match the height.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so how about even the tall version? So a tall version here.
That's the
Like,
same.
yep. And then the fun part comes in if you, oh, okay, I got way too many things going on. It's not going to let me do that. I can show you that on another one. So yeah, there's basically, but this only affects how it displays in the image block. This doesn't have anything to do with the featured stuff or any of that kind of thing. The other thing I did want to show you about covers that's really cool is I have something called a focal point, and that's this here. And so if you drag this, watch
Oh.
what happens to the cover.
Great. Okay.
So
Nice.
technically, like I was testing this one up here. And so if you come back to the focal point, you can actually see the picture moving around in the background if you
Right.
wanted to change that. And
Right.
then let's see if I can show you the crop here. Yeah, so the crop is there, but let's instead of doing that, let's say we wanted to have this tall,
Oh, right. Yeah.
right? So you see it's way out of whatever. We want the guy's face. So then you come to the crop. No, and what you can do with the crop is, where is it? Here it is. So once you're in the crop tool, you can zoom in. I'm just doing that with the mouse actually. But what's cool is you can change the aspect ratio of the crop to match the aspect ratio of the image block if you want. So if I change that to tall, look what happens. I can now move
Oh.
him over and hit
Mhm.
apply. And now that tall one is focused on him just the way we had thought about it, for
Right.
this particular application.
Right.
And one note about this is when you do the crop this way, it's actually creating a new copy of the photo.
Oh,
So,
really?
right,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so if you go into the media library, you'll see there's like 5 versions of this photo where I was playing around with the crop.
Well,
interesting.
that's good because their original won't be altered.
Exactly. So if you want to go back, so here you go. Now I've got it on and let me go grab the cover again, bring this back over and see, now you got like a cool thing there.
Yeah, for sure. What's interesting is like you have the focal point for the cover, but then you have the
The
crop
crop.
tool for the
Exactly. Yep.
slightly different. But yeah, that's what was confusing me at first. That's cool, man. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of new stuff. I mean, a lot of ins and
Oh,
outs.
and actually, I mean, you can do fixed versus repeated. So if you had something that was more like a flower, like a square flower picture or something, you
Right,
could even repeat it and it would create a grid of the flowers as the background of the cover.
right.
Um, or logos and stuff like that you could imagine. And let's see, and we could do, let's see, it's still the overlay. I wish there was a blur effect on this. I have seen that. But what you do have though is what they call this duotone effect. So if you take a look at the background cover, you can get rid of its color
Oh,
completely with
yeah.
these, or have these kind of funky effects like that to kind of set it off as well. So that's kind of a little color filter. If you wanted to set it off, have a black and white version in the back and
Right,
version in the front.
right, right. No, I can see photographers really liking this.
Yeah, and you can also, once it's set as at a height, I mean, once it's set as a cover, you can actually assign a specific height to the cover too, which is what I was doing with this Oscar Wilde quote. This is basically just adjusting the cover height, and it kind of will shift the contents to do whatever you want with that. So,
Right, right. So
um,
I have a
yeah,
quick question. Could I
yeah, I've
use
just been running through a bunch of stuff. I'm sorry. Yeah,
no,
let me
no,
take a
it's
pause.
okay. It just popped into my head. Could I create a page on public meetings using this that pulls in articles like between these things, or is it
Well, one of the embeds down here, here it is. There's RSS.
okay?
And there's also, you can
Latest,
do like just your normal WordPress posts, but I'm pretty sure these are like
not
on the site. But RSS would, if you wanted to pull things in from another site, you could do that with the RSS. Or is
okay.
it, I mean, I'm sorry, was that your question? Was it pulling
Well, I
in?
guess no. I guess what I mean is like because I understand I can now, and we're telling customers they should use the block editor not just to write articles, but to do static pages, just like
Mhm.
complex designs. Is like when I go to a category on the site and it's got a list of articles, is that a type of page that I could edit with the block editor or no? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
I think so. Yeah. So let me see. Let me remember.
I can
I
show you.
think because the theme ones, if like you can, these are parts of stories, I think.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I might have.
Like if you had this, yeah, displays the title of a post page or any other content type. Oh, here you go. Query loop. Okay, I'm pretty sure. Let me just toss this down at the bottom. Whoa.
Hey, Vera, what's this thing from Clifton Times about?
She
Is it?
used to block editor to build this page
Oh,
that
cool.
links her content for opinion. And these
Gotcha.
are community submitted articles to keep them all together. I think that's what you were talking about, something like that, where it pulls articles into a page, not like the
Oh,
category
I
page.
see what this would do.
Well,
Okay.
I actually am kind of talking about the category pages in this case. Like, I was wondering, like a page like that, the one I just posted in our chat, like,
Oh, here we go. Post type. What are we on? No, we need articles.
okay, okay, interesting.
There we go.
Yeah, so I could build like category or
Yeah, this is basically like a article widget, a category article
well,
widget on the
yeah, okay. It's kind
I
of
was
like a
just seeing and
multi-hub
yeah,
site,
I was
right?
just seeing what else it
Or
could
no?
do.
Like I could sort of do a multi-pub site on my own with this, but I could like create multiple home pages.
So post template. Oh wow. Okay, pagination. Okay, so this query loop
Mhm.
is basically, and I hadn't talked about this yet, but this is going to be something we probably do want to talk about is patterns. When you come in here to add a block, there's
Right.
something here called patterns, and what these are pre-made groups of
Oh,
things.
yeah, yeah, this is nice. Okay.
So in addition to what I was making, oh, I
Right.
just added it. So you can see this. I just clicked on the first one here,
Mhm.
and then let me come back to the list view, and here you can see what it did. It basically has a cover with a row and two images. So, and basically that's kind of what it's been doing, or what the patterns are. They're basically the same thing I've been building up here. What you can do then is let's say you really like this embed here.
Right.
You can come into here and say create pattern.
Perfect. That was my next question. That's awesome.
And this is
Okay.
my
Yeah.
video embed.
Oh
Let's
man, this is a
and
great
have,
thing.
oh, and you can even put them in the okay, so let's put that in videos, and then we'll just add that.
Very cool.
Because I was using, I touched on this a little bit when we were doing the Virginia newsreader stuff, when they would have they were doing the featured poll, and that was using a query loop too. So this is the other thing is instead of just having, let's say, this guy being called cover, we can come down here and rename it. You're not creating a pattern here, but you can just rename it
Yeah.
as restaurant listings.
Sure. Yeah, that would be helpful.
And
Okay.
so that, yeah, that can help you with the navigation as well. So yeah, here's the video embed. And what you see now is you don't have access to any of the stuff here.
Oh, okay.
So this is,
You can't really edit it when it's a pattern. Is that what you're saying?
well, I think, why am I having issues? Oh, sorry. If we come back to patterns,
Yeah.
my patterns, here it is.
Yeah, there was that link to edit the original. Maybe you have to edit the original or something. Weird.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad we're playing. Okay, there it did. It just put another one in there.
Yeah. Okay.
And now let me come back. And yeah, both of them, yeah, looks like your patterns are fixed. Unless you
Okay.
want to edit the original, our latest video, let's just add another exclamation point.
Right.
Okay, right. And so this has a save button. So if I hit save, you can see where it's going to save. You can overwrite the one that's stored in the pattern, and then you can also overwrite the one that's actually in an article, I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
So let
Okay.
me unselect this one
Yeah, that's a good thing to test. Okay. Because
and
then
save it.
you'll be able to see the two at the same time. Oh.
Save.
Yeah. Like,
No.
John,
Okay.
how do we get out of here?
Add a description, sync status.
We're in the pattern right
We
now.
can duplicate it. We can rename it. Yeah, this is in this little pattern editor here.
Yeah, how do we get out of the pattern editor is the question, right? This is, I mean, this is a lot to
Oh,
learn.
back. Here's a back.
Okay, there you go. Now you got the 2.
Okay, so I've got the 2. And
But
let me check the pattern here for my patterns. And if you take a look, it's hard to see.
it has 1.
It has 1. So that
Oh,
did work. So it left 1 in the pattern and 2 in the art and 2 in the ones that I had placed. So if you do come into edit original, let's see, let me get out of this. Whoa.
okay. So you edit
Original, you have the
yourself.
option to, well, okay, now it's saving. Interesting.
Yeah.
If that's
That-
going to override it and put the 2 exclamation points in there.
No, I mean, I like this. This makes sense. They did think it all the way through. For a second there, I was thinking this is kind of going to be awkward if you can't even edit, something that you're using as a pattern, but that makes sense now. You just need to create a new version. You need to save it under.
Yep. And when I saved it, yeah, now it's got 2 exclamation points.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because when I hit the save the second time, I didn't uncheck the patterns one. I was just surprised that it actually did the saving animation.
Right.
Yeah, but you can do that. And so just to kind of cruise through a few more of these,
Oh,
and all these are using covers basically. So you got a big cover, headings, little button thing is in there. Yeah, these are all using covers as well.
okay.
Okay, posts. Here we go. What are these? Standard, image at left, large title. I hadn't looked into too many of these as of yet. Here, let's see what this one looks like. Okay, and then let me open this up. And what is this one doing? I'm pretty sure this is similar to what I was. Oh, that's right. You have to close out of that first. Okay. So you have to close out of there. What is that using? Okay, yeah, it is using a query loop. And once again, this is why you see what the issue I was having. If you just click in here, it clicks on the post template, not the query loop. So you don't get the category selection. So that's why you want to use the list view. So you
Yeah,
can actually see what you're clicking on. You can see it if I move this,
I think that's definitely a good point.
you can see it down here. So this is the breadcrumb down at the bottom. And you can actually click on query loop here to get to it as well.
Right.
So, okay, yeah, this is a quick thing on Nest, on navigating Nest. You see how there's always 2 icons here? What this
Yes.
does is this one selects the current block, and then this one here selects the parent block. So you can, without the list view, just move up a level.
Move up and down. Okay.
Right. So you're all the way at the bottom. You can move up a level, move up another level, that kind of thing. And then obviously that changes the options that are showing up on the in the side panel as you
Yeah.
do that. So that's just a navigation tip and trick that might come up as well.
Yeah. Totally. Could you just arrow down to do that too, or do that not?
Yes, actually you can. So if I'm in
Neat.
post template and I just hit up, depends on where I am, I think. Here, let's see. Here, I hit up, goes to the column, hit
Okay.
up again, and then hit up again as the
What if
separator.
that's cool? Well, what if you don't have the list view open? Do you think it would do the same? Can we test
Oh
that?
yeah. If you're selecting something that's embedded, you can take a look at the breadcrumbs here at the bottom. This is the date. Then
Yeah.
it's the column it's left column. Then it's the group of columns. That's
Mhm.
the separator. And you can see right here, that's the post template. So you can't select the individual stories in there, obviously, because it's just the looping of the content. And then you
Right.
click one more time. That's another post template. And oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, it does let you go through each of the post templates. And then one more takes you to the loop itself, where you do the post types. And then
Okay.
one more gets us to the group, which has the black background selected.
Right. Now, can you go up one more to the next group up? And I want to just see what happens there.
Yep,
Oh,
it took me, yeah, it took me to this empty one. If I hit up again, it'll select the image block.
okay. So now you're on the most nested part of this block.
Exactly, the
Okay.
next block up. So
Okay.
it
So it
basically
really,
up is yeah, it's basically just moving up through the list view kind of, if we didn't have that open. But yeah, so you can go up and down all of these just like that.
yeah. I
till you
think
run out.
keyboard shortcuts could be really
Let's
cool.
see, actually, if you do shift down, it selected a couple of blocks. It selected like both of these here. Interesting. Let me check the list view and see what it selected. So yeah, since let's say I was here and I hit shift down, it selects the image. Shift to the right, selected both images. And okay, yeah, that's all the multiple select I can do. So it looks like within maybe a block, I could select both. So yeah, there's
Hmm.
definitely some keyboard stuff.
Cool. Okay. Is
Yeah,
that all?
here you go. I'm doing shifting down there. So yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the other thing is basically being able to, shift select. And then if you come back in here, you can see that it's kind of treating them as a group, or where you can change them to a group from the multiple selection. That'll just instantly change it to a group. Oh, did we go over undo and redo? I
Oh,
think that's probably something that they'll want to know about too. So
is
you can actually
that new?
undo and no, it's been on there.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Okay,
I
cool.
just don't think anybody ever uses it, to be honest.
I
Right.
use Control Z.
Yeah, Control Z, exactly. We'll do the same thing. So they do have access to undo and redo on these. You can see I kind of undid, and it basically I think the undo and redo is like major stuff. Let me see if I do changes to classifieds and then go undo. Yep. Oh, okay. So yeah, it even down to that level. So yeah, even
I'm
something
going to
like
take
that.
it a step further, Christopher. If you save it, and as long as you stay on this page, you can keep undoing what you did.
It'll remember the history. Cool. Yeah.
But
Nice.
if you exit that page and go back to like all articles or all pages, it saves it and you can't backtrack. But if
Gotcha.
as long as you're there, you can keep making edits.
Right. Right.
I
Wow.
was just clicking on the three dot menu, looking around for stuff. So this is one of the patterns. There's something called detach.
Hmm.
Ah, that makes it editable.
Oh,
That's what
that's
we're
another way
looking
to do
for.
it. That's
I was looking for that, where you could basically,
oh,
instead of it being a synced up instance of a pattern, you
right.
can place it and then detach it from the pattern, and it just becomes its own group
Right.
where you can go in and edit it with 18 of these.
So that would be the way to do it if unless you want to save the changes you're making now to a new pattern. Right.
Right. When you think about it I was going to make the parallel to the Creative Cloud libraries, where you have a drag in a
Right.
component. And any changes you want to make, do you want those to be at the component level for everybody, to be reflected for everybody, or do you want to detach it in this instance and be able to, make subtle changes? Because
Okay.
actually in the pattern itself, I hard coded the embed. So the pattern is only going to have this one video. So that's definitely a place where you'd want to go ahead and detach, or you can, if I write a three dot menu on the other pattern, there's also manage patterns, which was right below detach. Okay, that's going to take me to another spot. Well, let's see where it goes. Why not?
Sure. Oh,
I thought that was going to go to that funky place we were.
yeah, that's a
Maybe a browser thing.
okay. That's a little funky.
Oh, there it is. I
Oh,
wasn't being patient.
oh, that's all that it took. Okay, so now we're in.
So here's a page where you have filters. I've only got one, so it's only got the one in here.
Okay.
And let's see, you can edit it, duplicate it. You can export it as JSON. So basically you could export these patterns and use them on other WordPress websites
Mhm.
that are running the same thing. So you can use this to move stuff between sites, which is kind of cool. And looks like we can add a pattern, a new one directly from here. We do that, add a new pattern, cover 66. I think this is just going to create a mini block editor where you can just add blocks to a pattern as if it were a little, yeah, it's a canvas. Yeah, it's a block canvas. Look at that.
Okay.
So
Cool.
this is what we were looking at before, but we've gotten to it in a different way now. This is where you can basically, it's a block editor, and you can add these, and once you save it, it'll be available in your patterns when we go back to
Right.
the article editor.
Right.
I'm definitely gonna need to do a post on patterns just on their
Yeah.
own applications. I mean, because we wanted to basically talk about workflow speed up things, and one of those would be reusable patterns.
For
You know,
sure. Yeah, that is right up that alley. Because like, well, I was kind of thinking of it more along the lines of there's no code required, so you can do 3 columns now a lot quicker. But this is even like next level of these. So yeah, I think let's just wrap it up here because that is a lot for today. Let's see how this meeting summary comes out.
hefty, yeah.
Okay.
And the
And
other,
then
just
yeah,
to add to one more thing in
sure.
on this, on the patterns, the context that this came up in that we can sell them is you can almost create like branded content stuff. So if you've got the specific color schemes for things, background colors and all those kind of things, those are the type of things that you might want to put in. Like if you build some kind of featured image block as a header for an article, you could have that as a reusable one and have that kind of consistency, and also it's going to be super fast. Okay, that's it.
Right, right. No, I love it, man. That sounds good. Yeah, we might end up just doing a whole webinar on like the list view, or I don't know, like we'll
Yeah.
have to see where we wind up, next week. But right now, I think we're kind of framing it as like the top 8 things, but we can always shift if we need to. But I think, yeah, so if you wanted to download this, you could do your own summary, but I want to put it through the public meeting summary too, because I think
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
this is just great content. Everything that you threw out there today. So, we can maybe put this whole video in the newsletter and just start doing that stuff more,
Well, and that's kind of what I was thinking of for like the video, is just to record myself demonstrating a couple of these little things and make those like these little short snippets of
Oh
of,
yeah, the
of
shorter
things
the
like
better.
that.
I
Yeah.
think in most cases. But this is a good starting point. We've got a nice long form video that will timestamp. We can send this out, to kind of tease the webinar.
Yeah, we can do because we're prepping for the webinar too, so I can just
Exactly.
title this exploring the block editor, and
Right.
you know
Truly are as publishers. Like we're all kind of we've got our own little publishing angle on publishing. Vera's got all her background. I'm doing the public meeting stuff. So like the curiosity is real. It's not we don't have to fake it. So I think that it's really nice that we can have these conversations. I think it'll be great if you want to go create quick short ones on your own. But I just think so much comes out of the questions and then that gives you other things to talk about. So let's just keep doing these whenever we can.
and obviously I didn't really structure this. I just kind of was
Exactly. We don't need
just
to.
going pretty, but for the webinar, we do these kind of free form ones just to do the brainstorming and
Right.
discovery thing, and then
Right.
we can use these recordings to kind of then coalesce everything into the more structured version for the
Right.
webinar proper.
Exactly. That's how I envision this totally, like using this app. No,
And
it's
I'm not gonna save any of this, so it'll still be like the way it was when we
okay.
started. So Vera, at any time you can come in and just see what is here and take a look. Or as Matt says, if you just want to, if you have time to play around and create something, or you do this all the time for the customers anyway. So I'm sure you'll be able to apply some of the stuff we've been chatting about really soon as well. So
Yeah. I'm really eager to learn some of this. Some, like I said, some of it I knew about, but other stuff, I mean, when you were moving things around, I didn't even know the list view existed.
Right.
So I'm eager to see how that works and if I can maneuver around it like you do.
Yeah.
And exactly. And that was why I wanted to mention that, because of the layout, and instead of doing the this last one here, this kind of just comes up with every block almost, because you're
Okay.
constantly
Right.
using groups and covers and things like that. So I
Right.
wasn't exactly sure if we should introduce that kind of first, the list view and the wrapper blocks, and then
Right.
maybe the patterns to start. Or
I think so, because it's simple. That's probably is a good way to start. You know, it's the
because then if you once you jump in a pattern, then you can go in and see how the layout blocks and the cover. Yeah, that makes sense. If we because then as you if we start with the patterns, you drag in a pattern and detach it or whatever, then you can see how it's made, and we can talk about the role of the wrapper blocks within the context of the patterns. And then we can use, if you want, we could use this other stuff as kind of build your own kind
right.
of things, or whatnot. Yeah, because the patterns don't do everything, but they give you a good sense, and then we can show them how to build some of their own stuff, as I did here. That I think that would be one good approach to just frame the beginning of the webinar. Get it rolling.
And that's that's the type of stuff that will work out in these office hours. That sounds great, man. I really
Cool.
like that order. All right then. I'll talk to you all later. Thanks very much for your time. Have a good afternoon.
All
You
right,
too.
take care,
Thank you,
guys. Thanks,
guys.
Vera. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
See
Bye
ya.
now.